There we go. All right. We are live, I believe. I haven't gotten my little, there, I got my little ding. So let's start with roll call. We'll just let her chime in when she comes. So starting with roll call, Councilman Curl is not here yet. If he comes, we'll make sure we make a note of it. Council President Schrimpf also not here yet, but we will make a note of it. Councilman Benedetti?
Here.
Councilman Wolf?
Here.
Councilman Bruger?
Here.
Councilman McNamara?
Gonna change things up. Present.
Okay. And Diane should be on here within seconds. As soon as she gets some volume, we'll have her say here. Diane, when you get on.
I'm here.
There we go. Okay. And Diane is also here. So we have 5 out of 6 as of right now. And let's then move on to the minutes for October 26, 2020. If
Approve.
go ahead. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Oh. Second.
Benedetti, sec, O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Extensions. All right. We are good to go on those. And then I have 2 mouses and 2 computers going, and I keep using the wrong mouse for the wrong computer. Okay. Let's start with village official reports. Let's go with Chief Delp.
I'm sorry, this is just odd that I'm going first.
We can yell at whoever switched it up for us.
It's just the fire chief usually went before
Okay.
me.
There we go. All right, you're first.
He's no longer here, so I guess I'm first up.
Get used to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting times. So hopefully all of you received my reports. Nothing really to add to that. The just a couple quick things. Number one, the Beggars Night went off really well. We didn't have any issues. It seemed like everyone had a very good time. And the second item that I would bring to your attention is that one of our officers put in his notice on October 26th that he would be leaving to become a paramedic. So we wish him luck. We are in the process of hiring. We have 7 applicants for his position, and which is good. That's a good pool to choose from, and I think it speaks well of the village as a place to work. So we didn't usually get that many applicants in the past. So other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
A real quick one. I think it was already resolved, but I'll just ask. There was that silver car parked next to the basketball court for a long time, and I think I saw that it's gone now. So is that all just taken care of?
That has been resolved.
I have a brief one as well. On the open discussion page on Facebook, there was about some youth running around with BB guns or something, and maybe a certain plant was involved as well by the odors reported. Anything about that?
I don't have anything on that. It looks like we were tied up with a domestic when that call went out, and it was handled by the sheriff's department. I did see that today, and hopefully I can get you some more information, but I don't have anything to go on right now.
Yeah, I saw the update that the sheriffs were out there. I just wondered if we had any insight. That's all.
Unfortunately, I don't have anything for you at this time. But if it's something that's important, I can find out.
No worries.
Sorry, I just was looking at it. I've decided to try not to be on Facebook as much. My goodness. So I missed that today. So there you go. All right. Anybody else with any questions for Chief? All right, we will move on to the engineer. Mike Flickinger is on vacation this week. I will be meeting with him as soon as he does get back, because I have a couple different sewer projects that I kind of want to go over with him and just see exactly where we are. I do plan on having a streets committee meeting this month as soon as he gets back, going over some of the East Shore Court and a couple of the other projects that we had planned to get a plan for 2021. But again, just waiting for him to get back so he can go over all of the Yasmin. There's a whole bunch of things that we're kind of trying to figure out at the end of this, for the end of this year. So we do have a plan. We've known that it was going to be late October, early November before we would be able to meet. So hopefully as soon as he gets back, we'll be able to do that. So that is my engineer report for Mike. Let's move to the fiscal officer report from Leah. I know she's on here somewhere. I don't know if she had too much to report. Leah, are you on here? I know she is. Can I
Here, but I don't
see
hear.
Ma'am, you're
There
mute.
she is.
You're muted.
She's not mute.
No,
She-
something's
Her
wrong with
her
it.
microphone's just not
No,
working because she doesn't have the little red I'm on mute symbol.
Oh,
There's something just wrong with the,
While
Hardware.
while she's playing with that, and she might be able to shake her head yes or no. I know that they were finishing up the CARES Act, figuring out exactly where to allocate all of the money. So we will have a supplemental appropriation for next week, waiving the readings and all that good stuff. So I know that that was one of the things that she wanted to mention. We had a very long, great discussion about the budget. You guys are going to have a reading on that one as well. And I'm sure Diane can probably give a little bit more from that once we get to the finance, if she doesn't get on here. But anyways, I think, give me a thumbs up if that's really the only two things we wanted to discuss. Perfect.
It happened to me one meeting. I feel you.
Well, yeah, we've all had internet problems the last couple days. So I know Brian was having them on Saturday. So I think that was the main things. And if nothing else, she'll just text me here in a minute. And if I need to go back during Diane's, I can go back if she wants to text me anything else that I'll bring to your guys' attention. But I know that there's nothing that's been earth shattering to my knowledge over the last couple days. So, but her and Kim have definitely been working on the budget and the basic things with Paycor and all that kind of stuff over the last couple days. So let's move on to legal counsel. Jesse, is there anything you want to tell us today?
I do not have anything to report.
Awesome. We're working on getting you an inventory list, and for us an inventory list, and working through that kind of stuff. So once we have all of that, I'll get that to you immediately, and then we can kind of figure out exactly how and what and all that good stuff. So, and then figure out, you know, some sort of resolution that we can pass to make life a little, I don't want to call it easier, but a life a little easier, but still fiscally responsible. So I think that's that. So, but does anybody have any questions for Jesse?
I do. I forgot to bring this up on Saturday, but I was wondering if we had heard back from Franklin County about their, I don't know how to describe it, their authority over building permit. That's a regularly asked question, and just someone else asked, and wonder if we heard back from them or.
I had not, but I'm glad you reminded me. I sent something to them after our last meeting, but then I hadn't heard back and forgot to follow up. So I'll do that tomorrow and report
Awesome.
back.
That's all I got.
Okay, and then I just want to give a really quick update that for Leah, the only other update she had is we should have the finances tomorrow. With finishing up the budget and all that kind of stuff, they've been preoccupied, so we should have all the financials tomorrow. So with that, I think that is everything for fiscal and legal. So let's go over to planning and zoning, Tony.
Well, we had a great meeting. We're about to come up with a green space plan. We talked to, presented that to council this Saturday. Really nothing other than that. We're not working on any other legislation I can think of, waiting on MI to come back with finish up their punch list stuff. And what I just brought up about the building permits is about all I have for planning and zoning.
Could I add a very brief question?
Absolutely.
I saw the map that was sent out to us, and it looks very, very promising for no mow zones, green spaces, shoreline stuff on the ponds. That's wonderful. The one question I had was the amphitheater area, that old amphitheater area, talking about possibly removing some trees. Could we talk about that a little bit briefly, very
Well,
briefly, about what the plan for that area is?
The only trees that we're talking about removing are the ones that are growing in the stage area itself. I don't know if you've been down there.
Yeah. It's actually a really nice little there's a pretty permanent creek, and there's a lot of May apples and very few invasives. It's nice land. So I hope it wouldn't be too terribly altered.
I don't know. Yeah, there's not any plan to cut a bunch of trees down. I will say that Brady Oxender on planning and zoning is working on I think he's turned it in a grant a grant application for redoing the amphitheater.
We had turned that in back at the end of last year at the capital budgets requirement. So yeah, that's in process. He's able to report on it, but it's been hanging since COVID.
Yeah, understandable. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents that there are some pretty nice, I'd estimate 150, 130-year-old white oaks down there. I'd hate to see meet their fate with a chainsaw.
Well,
But everything else looks fantastic.
we have some members of the Planning and Zoning Commission are very sensitive to cutting anything down. So I would assure you, David, that the trees will be well represented when and if there's any cutting of trees.
Yeah, it was my understanding that the only ones that would come down are, I mean, if you have an actual amphitheater and you have a area that you're trying to have performers or something like that, you can't have a tree right in the middle of where they're performing or 9. So it would be
And
the
that is
smaller-
more than understood.
Yeah, so I mean,
It's
I
more
think that's the
good.
only thing anybody's talking about is the actual stage itself, like in the middle of where that was my understanding, that there wouldn't be anything cut around it. It would only be the ones that were in the way. So even if there was
That's
something back up-
fantastic.
so that was my understanding.
Fantastic.
I
Love the
agree.
plan. Love it.
All right, does anybody else have anything I missed the end of that last meeting. Was there anything that council did not agree with moving forward, or is there anything that they were
We
really
didn't
excited
really.
about?
We just left it at, take a look at it and see
Okay.
what you think.
Okay, perfect.
Wasn't any intention to, because they're just ideas, right?
I think like we had
There's
talked,
no money attached to any of the ideas yet, so, I mean, I know someone's going for grants on some of it, and
Right,
it would be impossible to give final feedback without any kind of.
well,
numbers.
I think here's this is the way I understood it when I left, and that I'm glad you're saying that, because that's kind of where putting the cart before the horse one way or another. If people don't have any interest in doing a structure, that's going to take weeks to determine whether or not we want a structure over by the basketball court with a bathroom, without a bathroom. Are you guys willing to spend 10,000? Are you guys willing to spend if we're going to do a bathroom over there, it's going to be upwards of obviously over 50 grand probably. So I think it was really trying to get a feel from council, and I don't want to turn this into a work session. So I'll leave it at that. My understanding, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, is no, we weren't expecting you guys to say, yes, we're going to thumbprint it, but we also, instead of council spending 8 weeks like they did with the landscaper, and then end up being told no, they kind of want to know where your guys' feelings are before they go start exploring $50,000-$60,000 structures if you guys don't have any interest in it. So I think there's still a happy medium between what's your vision, what is council I understand you're not going to say, they need some sort of guidance as well. So instead of spending weeks and weeks and weeks pricing out all these different things and you guys saying, we don't even want a structure. And I'm only using that as an example. So I think that was the point of looking through this list and giving your blessings on, yes, move forward with this. We're not saying, tell them yes, but maybe with some stipulations or something like that. Give them a little bit to go on with what council's vision is going to be. It's
Like
a
I
matter of
mentioned
working together.
in this is something I think that a committee needs to start working on, is taking a look at the plan, and the community committee, that would fall under its purview. And I think that's would be the route to swing is, we've got 100,000+ in a parkland fund. And I think planning and zoning would like to have, understand what we would like to move on first.
I would agree. That's what I got from
That's
that.
where I think that's where we're at right now with this plan is, we've got to get some feedback from council so that planning and zoning can start, coming up with a plan for a specific area.
Okay, we were at the 2-hour mark on the work session, and it really was not made clear to us that it was imperative we stay longer and nail this down. It was not presented that way at all. So I think we just need to,
No, I don't
we
think
just
it-
need to
yeah.
make plans to have and of course, we're talking about a discussion that might take an hour at least to.
No. What
I
was
mean,
left
some
of the
people
work
said they
session?
wanted on that structure on the green space. Some people thought that some people were mentioning a shelter. We didn't get into drill down. So, I mean, it's not, someone said a shelter would be nice, and I agree with that. But I personally think maybe bathrooms would be nice. But, if again, it's a give and the take. So, okay, if you have a bathroom, that if you want to put bathrooms there, well, if you're right, Tiffany, if it ends up being closer to $50,000, well then, or do you do for smaller projects because of whatever? So, or maybe there's a reason why you don't want bathrooms there. We just,
Well, let's not get fixated on one certain
exactly.
area. This is a whole big plan with a lot of different areas that could use.
Yeah, every area does need a bathroom. I mean, I'm just talking about the expenses. I mean, I think the sledding hill is great. I don't think that's a $50,000 endeavor. I think that's great. And, the amphitheater, I know a lot of people excited. I'm not excited about that, but if it's going to be grant money that's going to be used to take down some trees in just that platform area, I'm not going to oppose that. But I don't know, it's not my thing. But that's just my opinion. And there are some other ones there as well. I just would like to see the ponds get taken care of rather than. I'm getting a little off topic here, but I'd rather have the ponds be taken care of so we don't have to use aqueduct. I would like to see them get planted, not just the one lily pond, but I'd like to see them all get planted so we're less likely to have green algae growing along the edges because we've got some plants, and we're less likely to have Canadian geese overrunning the place because they don't like the tall grass or the grasses and the things around the edges. I'd rather see us be, I do want us to see that. No, the other playground stuff, again, I think the one area that seems to be one that would be the most expensive would be putting a shelter, some kind of structure on that space that's across from the basketball court. It seemed like that was potentially someone could go crazy with that area and really want to build that up, and that could suck up a lot of the money just in that one spot. So, and we're drilling down and getting into detail here. But again, I did not realize that we were supposed to go there on Saturdays.
You are not.
I didn't
You're
know
not.
did that.
No one said that. So Mayor, if I may segue into my
Go for it. Yes.
area, thank you. So Diane, just to be clear, and I thought it was said, and I'll say it again at this point, what was decided at P&Z, they wanted to get feedback. All of these items are conceptual in nature. And as I stated at the work session, I will, as Tony jumped in on, and there's a couple more items to be corrected on the map. I will send out another map with further instructions. You should see that tomorrow. The P&Z Commission would simply like to get feedback prior to next week's meeting, in which time they will talk about it and do some research and then get something back up to you. You cannot proceed obviously without some options. Some of these items are obviously more expensive than others. Keep that in mind. Money is not the overall decider. It's important, But for example, plumbing, restrooms are perhaps one of the more expensive per square foot items you can choose at any location. However, there are public welfare and health items. For example, if you don't have them, what happens? The guys go and they urinate in the bushes, right? And nobody likes that. That's not a good thing. And so you can either pay on a monthly basis to have a porta potty, which isn't the prettiest thing, or you can set up some plumbing in addition to the shelter house. You're not that far off the street right there. Not as expensive as you may think. So the idea is for you to give feedback on things that you may or may not like. Some things may get outside funding or not. Some things may have other pertinent considerations, such as the plumbing, than others, and maybe higher on the priority list. So it is simply a matter of giving some feedback, and P&Z will then proceed and do some research and get you some ideas back, and then you can obviously run that through your community committee before making a final decision prior to spring. You got plenty of time. So that's all that was talked about. It was not a definitive need for going into a decision-making process at the last work session by any means.
We have to determine who's going to take up the conversation, council, or, when are we going to do that? I guess is the question. That's why I keep going back to a community committee meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that one's very.
Well, I missed the whole, if a statement was made that feedback was needed before the P&Z meeting next week, I missed that vote altogether. So sorry about that.
No worries.
Now, so if indeed that has to be the case, then how are we going to get that done? P&Z is what, next Wednesday, you said? So
Send back some emails. I'm
how
going
do we do that? Just
to send out an email tomorrow. It's going to have an updated map per our discussion the other day, and with a little bit more of instruction in it for members. Certain members were not present at the work session either, nor are they present now. So we'll try to, and anyone can call, and we'll be happy to talk through it. Not a problem. So there's plenty of time to elicit feedback prior to a meeting that is next Wednesday. Good 10, a good 8-9 days away. No problem. Okay.
Beautiful.
So now continuing on, update with Westerville schools. They have contacted me. The middle school is being stepped up. So they plan to come through a review process in January. They'd like to start digging on that site come June, July timeframe. So very shortly, you're going to see the middle school plans in front of you as well. And we'll talk about that at that time. So that's exciting. At the same time, it's a lot of business for the village. So nothing wrong with that. As I talked with Kim when I saw her the other day. One thing to consider is that by the time they're all said and done in the next about 2 to 3 year time frame, you should probably conservatively see revenues from school employees easily triple. I don't think that's by any means beyond a conservative estimate of all staffing and administration when they're all said and done, because they're going to increase the, they're going to build 2 schools. They're going to then renovate Hawthorne, and in a 5-year time, without too much trouble, you'll easily see a tripling. So that's a good thing from an economic development standpoint. I do not think that I have anything else aside from the note on the sidewalk legislation. Unfortunately, Mike has been out for a little longer than I anticipated. I will get with him. I have a few questions, and then I'm going to send it back out to everybody once I confirm my read of what MI sent over to me to make sure that the language within that legislation matches the exhibit. So you'll see that here come December. And I think there was one other item might pop back in my head, but other than that, we should be good. Oh, don't forget, tonight we'll be tabling the MI acceptance, or the acceptance of the MI reserves, as I'm still up and out in the field. We're taking care of a few things. I want to get a list back to you when they complete everything. So that's where we're at.
Perfect. Does anybody have any questions? That was easy. Okay, MPCA, I'm really just gonna say this. I did not get my update, and I'm gonna blame myself for that, for not requesting an update from MPCA. I don't know, Mark, if you know anything. I do know that the carriage rides were in fact canceled. I do know that they are planning on putting together a different type of event, more outside, more lights, more all that kind of stuff. So more to come on that. I'm not gonna give anything away that I shouldn't.
The next meeting's the Wednesday, I believe, which
Right,
I'll
it
attend
is.
as well. So
Correct. So it's actually not this Wednesday, but the 18th due to Veterans Day. So I actually talked to them about that. So
Oh.
it may just be that we haven't had a meeting since their last meeting would be why we probably don't have any updates. So I don't have a lot of updates from that, but again, if anybody is watching and they want to send me any updates, I'd be more than happy to read them. But again, I don't think they've had a meeting since our last one. Would make sense because we were both on that, and so that's been a while. Okay, so then let's move straight on to, I think
Is
it's my report.
FPCA doing Zoom meetings?
Yes.
Is there a place where they publish how to get on them?
doubt
I
it.
mean, are they,
Not that I have no idea. I'm assuming not.
Look
I'm
on
assuming
their
they're just
My
basic.
MPCA, isn't that their website?
Yeah, they probably post them to their website or something along those lines. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing.
okay.
I can find out and report it the next week or, next Monday. And maybe they are giving details on that. I've not seen anything on the Facebook page. So, but I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. Okay, so my report is going to be short and sweet, I hope. We are slowing down on food trucks for the rest of this year. Most of them have their trucks in storage, not necessarily in storage, but this seems to be the time in which they're working on them. Not saying that we won't have any more in November or December, but they've definitely slowed down on responding to me. I already have a couple set up for January, February, and March. And when I say a couple, I mean like less than 5. But I do plan on continuing those next year. Again, just trying to keep like 4 a month to where we're not overwhelming the village, trying to keep it like once a week or however that works out. So I do plan on continuing those next year until people quit liking them. But apparently we have a really, we're known for our likings of food trucks. Apparently we're kind of well known for, we like to eat, I guess. Anyways, the leaf pickup is going to go through mid-March, or I'm sorry, mid-December. He was out today. He continues to be out picking them up. Just remember, when his truck gets full, he has to leave the village, go empty it out. He can't get through the village in one day. And that's my spiel on that. Hopefully we'll have the pool legislation done tonight, and we will get that taken care of first thing tomorrow so we can get the baby pool put in. And we did apply for $1,000 grant for the handrails for the concrete stairs. So hopefully we will get that $1,000 grant and we won't have to fork out a bunch of money for handrails. So, and I've actually, the company that I called is Fortin Iron Works or something like that. I can't remember, but that's the company that I've been talking to for the handrails. So other than that, that's all I have. Actually, no, I don't. Brad sent an email. They have taken out over 12 trucks full of trees, debris, whatever you want to call it, from the North and South Lake over the last couple weeks. So that's just kind of an FYI for you guys. Over 12 truckloads full. So
pave the way for easier dredging operations in the future.
exactly. So my opinion, that's great. I don't think we have shut the valve. So at this point, Tony, if you want to figure out how to get that valve shut over the next week or so, I know the weather's going to be hit or miss tomorrow and Wednesday, but it looks like it's not going to be freezing cold for the next couple of days. So if you and Brian want to see how you guys can do that over the next few days, that would be awesome. Until we get to the spring and we can figure out what we're going to do. Or hopefully within the next month, we'll have some options.
I'd also like to be involved in that process just for knowledge's sake, if possible.
Everybody's going to be, I'm working on, unless somebody else is working on dredging options, that's pretty much all I'm doing is trying to get some estimates for dredging, period, in the North Lake. So if anybody has any recommendations or they want to try to get some dredging options, more power to you, or any other options. I'm specifically working on dredging options.
Didn't you say the guys that are cleaning out
Correct.
they were going to give you a price?
Yes.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping to have it soon, very soon. That's just one of them. The other company that came out, Tony, when you were there, I'm expecting a dredging option from him as well. I've talked to him a couple times back and forth via email. He's the one that did the sample, but he's already told us he's going to be one of your most expensive options. I mean, he implied if we got somebody that could remove it on their own, it's going to be drastically less expensive. But I don't know, we'll get both. And you know, the thing about going with a company is it's all done. We don't really have to do anything. If we have somebody come in and dredge it, then we've got to find somewhere to dump it and, all of that kind of stuff. So there's a couple different scenarios that we're doing with that. And again, I am going to be working with Mike next week, later this week or next week, talking about getting some of these other projects moving forward for 2021, which is the East Shore Court, as well as the Maplewood Street project and some other things like that. So, and then making sure we're moving forward on the televising for the next section of the storm sewer, and keep up with that. So that's my report. If anybody has any questions, speak now. Or else we're moving on to council committee reports. And we can start with community. David.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, members of the council and community. I would love to update that we have received a handful of veteran stories and pictures that I will be putting together posts for throughout Veterans Day on the Minerva Parks pages that I can access, as it's a holiday that the regular village staff will not be there for. And that's no issue. I look forward to doing it and honoring the veterans of our community. I got Joe's stuff. Tony, it's still not too late to send me a little bio if you'd like, or anybody else listening. So we have that going. I would like to call a community committee meeting once we have the most updated P&Z and recommendations for all the green space that we can hash out and discuss. Anybody would be welcome to attend, but I assume Diane would enjoy that as well. I would also like at that upcoming meeting that we'll figure out a date for to discuss more options. I'm sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. I believe it was something I was going to discuss with MPCA as well. But at any rate, Veterans Day stuff is going well. I'm going to share all that stuff. And once we have the email from Mr. Eric tomorrow, let's get a meeting scheduled to discuss it.
Well, could we just assume, I mean, Eric's going to be good to his word and he's going to send this out tomorrow. And can we go ahead and schedule, since we're here?
That's fine.
Quickly schedule something?
How's next Tuesday?
Works for me.
Next Tuesday evening?
Yeah, sure.
What
Next
time?
Tuesday evening.
What time?
Oh, how about 6-ish, if that's not too early for anyone's dinner?
Tiffany, can you confirm that next Tuesday at 6 is doable? I mean, it's Zoom, so I guess it doesn't matter, right? Unless we've got, so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you guys are going to continue, I guess now's the time to ask, is everybody going to continue to do it? We've gotten obviously the new AC, the new this, the new that. If anybody has any interest in going back in and starting these meetings, I don't know if you guys want to wait till January 1st, whatever, that's a different topic for another day. We can do Zoom. I mean, I have no problem. I'll give it to Becky first thing tomorrow, but I don't know if at some point, again, P&Z is back in there. I'm not pushing anybody to do it.
I'm thinking Joe's the other one on the committee, I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, all are welcome. All are absolutely welcome. I would love for the community committee to take a strong role in the shaping of our green spaces, which is probably no surprise to anybody.
So if you, will you, Tuesday at 6, will you communicate with Joe, David?
I send the invite to everybody.
Yeah, I know, but I just know sometimes he needs a little more help remembering. And so I just, as the chair, I just wondered if David would try to
That'd be great.
reach out to him.
I will send him a personal email on the conclusion of this gathering.
That'd be
Okay.
great.
All right.
And I will get it uploaded. I will have Becky put it on there and I will send out the Zoom invite probably not till the end of the week, because then they start getting lost in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my
Thank you.
report. I look very forward to helping helping keep everything nice and green. Diane, I'm sure you feel similarly.
No, I do. Very much.
That's what I've got, guys.
Okay, anybody have any questions for David? All right, let's move over to Diane. Council President Shrimp for the finance.
Okay, we had a couple good finance meetings in terms of working with finance on the budget. Got a good budget presentation from Kim Pooley. We're going to have the first reading tonight, but we will have time for council members to come forward with any other questions or concerns with our 3 readings. That would give us time and one more work session in case we needed to work anything out. The budget looks pretty good for next year, and we are I don't know that we are planning, at least the administration is planning to try to do maintenance internally once the MI section has been turned over, to include the MI section in the regular maintenance programs that you see around the village with grass mowing and other green space management. So that will require some additional equipment purchases, and those have been budgeted for next year. The one thing that was one of the things that was brought up in terms of major purchases for major equipment purchases, equipment replacement schedule, we call it. I think the one thing that we did discuss was the normal vehicle replacement program, the police vehicle replacement program. And there was some question about whether we were going to be replacing a vehicle in 2021. There is something in the budget for that. And we wondered if the Chief Delp wanted to address that at all.
What would you like to know?
Well, I think there was a concern among a council member or two of the need. The newer council members are not familiar with the replacement program. You've given a really good talk also about, you know, how, you know, police vehicles are not like normal vehicles. They, you know, really get used and abused, and police officers are sitting in the seats all the time, and seats tend to go bad early on and all that jazz. And so we know we have 4 police vehicles now. We know we bought one last year, right?
Yes.
Yes. And then we bought one last year, and then that one, we retired one out that was in pretty bad shape. And so the one that would be replaced this year, how old is it?
It'll be 4 years old at the time of its trade-in, and it basically comes down to, we weighed the repair costs when you get into the 4th and 5th year of owning those vehicles, and loss of trade-in value to keeping them around, and it was kind of a really a loss of the difference. So rather than keep it around and lose the trade-in value and start pumping money into repair costs, it was equally economical to trade them in and have vehicles that are under warranty and that were in better shape. So once we started doing that, the fleet became more manageable and more solid. But other than that, I mean, I'm happy to answer any specific questions. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on, you know, what Ford does to their SUVs and things like that, or how 1 hour of idle time is equal to about 33 miles, and the vehicles do idle quite a bit. So it's just, we're harder on them than your typical family vehicle.
I was the one that brought this up, Chief, and you know, and this comes from conversations with other residents in the village, is, you know, the need for having 4 police cars and 2 officers on duty, you know, at most, usually. You know, that's the crux of my concern is, do we need to have those? And isn't one of the vehicles a lease?
Yeah, one of them is a lease. That was, I think, the one that we will be trading in next year, or 2022.
You know, that's where for me to get to because I've thought about this probably more than anybody, is just keeping the vehicles we have right now. And then next year, you know, maybe skipping 1 year of getting a new vehicle. Next year, when the lease runs up, we get another vehicle and keep it at 3. I guess that would be the big.
So if you have,
is the bad thing about only having 3 vehicles.
so it's a matter of mathematics. We have 9 full-time officers and 4 vehicles, which means that we have 2 people assigned to each vehicle, and 1 vehicle has 3 people assigned to it. So we try to schedule around running those vehicles 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If we only had 3 vehicles, those vehicles would be run into the ground even quicker than what we're doing right now. By the time these vehicles get to 4 years, we're putting around 80,000 miles on them. So as they approach 80,000 miles, things start to happen. If you want us to start replacing vehicles every 2 years, then that's probably what we would be doing, because we would be either dumping a lot of money into repairs or replacing them with newer vehicles quicker. So
I mean, right now what we're doing is replacing them every year.
Right now, 1 vehicle.
One vehicle a year.
Yeah, if we start doing what you suggest, just by the mathematics, we would probably be end up doing 1 to 2 vehicles a year.
Well, that's something for everybody to think about. I think that's
Yeah.
where I'm going with this conversation.
The second thing I'd like to bring up is these officers. Honestly, that's their office. That vehicle is where they work, and I really think it's my responsibility to try to provide them the best working conditions that they can have. And one of the recruiting things that we have, and it's not a lot because we can't compete with the pay of the surrounding departments, is we have decent equipment, and the officers that work here take pride in those vehicles, and they try to take care of them. So it's one of those things where when I first came here in 2015, the fleet was not in very good condition. Those vehicles were old. They had over 150,000 miles on one of them, and were quite frankly just kind of dangerous to be driving. It was the decision of the previous council to try to provide the department with safe transportation to do their job. And I hope that you can see the value in that, and continue with moving forward with the 1 vehicle per year rotation that we've been doing.
For what it's worth, I have a friend, a very dear friend of mine, who is a deputy sheriff up north, and everything he's told me about all the time they spend in their vehicles absolutely checks out here, Tony. Also, I mean, if they've run the numbers and it's more economical, then I was one of the people with, questions being, the first year I'm in this role, but everything that's been explained here makes fine sense. So I appreciate your time once again, Chief. You're a treasure trove of information.
Thank you, Councilman McNamara.
Any thoughts of just replacing it with a fleet of scooters? I know I just recently got a scooter and it is super fun to drive around the village in.
A Segway or something?
Oh, a little 125 CD. Chief Delfkin after his officers. I speed by them all the time.
Well, I wouldn't say speed, right? That thing doesn't go that fast.
Every
All right, I
one
think
of
that-
us follows examples, and none of us have ever sped in our lives because we lead by example. That is exactly.
Yeah,
No, I was-
Franklin County Auditor might say differently on a few of us, so.
I was just suggesting that scooter couldn't go, beyond the speed limit with Councilman Bruger on it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, goodness. All right, Diane, back
Alright,
to
that's-
you.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Did you have any other things?
No, I think that's it. And let's see. Oh, I did want to, I know that Jess is this his first real, first of the month real council meeting that he's attended live
Yes.
via Zoom?
Yes.
Because, I think it might be nice to identify him and just introduce him one more time, just for those who are new viewers. And since it's his first of the month, big.
Where were
concert.
you at the beginning of the meeting? You could have told us that at the beginning.
Did I miss that? Did that happen and I missed it?
No, I'm just saying now
Oh.
that we're in the middle, people done tuned us out like 45 minutes ago. Jesse, do you want to just again, real quick, and then next week I probably won't have him here because again, we're just trying to
Right.
keep the second meeting pretty inexpensive for the village. So if you want to introduce yourself, just, tell us
Sure.
a little bit.
Sure. So my name's Jesse Shamp. I'm with Frost Brown Todd, which is where Gene previously was a member. And, obviously he left to work for Village of Obet. So I'm filling in his shoes. We're all sort of splitting up the work that he had handled for so long. I've worked quite a bit with the village prior to this sort of formal appointment. So I've been prosecuting in the mayor's court for at least a year and just doing various projects. So very much looking forward to it. We have a great team of a lot of experienced attorneys on hand. So if I ever have any questions, I always have somebody to turn to, but very much looking forward to working with everyone.
Thank you.
And I'm going to put a plug. Okay. So everybody knows that, I really like working with Gene, but let me just tell you, Jesse's much faster responding to me, just for the record. So, and I know Gene, I know he was, I'm not saying that you're not busy,
Sure.
but I know he was super busy, and I will tell you, he is much faster to respond. I mean, like same day, maybe even same hour. So, I love it. So, but again, if anybody has any questions for Jesse, I think everybody's got his email. Feel free to reach out or anything like that, or you guys can ask me anything and we can always forward it. But we still have Annie that's there that does the human resources. We've talked to her a couple times this year. So at this point, my goal, obviously you guys are the ones that pass the budget and everything, is to keep things the way that they are at this point in time, but council's the one that does that. So, that's where we are at this point. So I don't have any thoughts to change at this time. So I know we're getting ready to go into the 2021 contracts. So there you go. All right. So does anybody have any questions for Diane? Does anybody want to mention anything else about finance? Does anybody have anything? Okay, good. Streets, Tony.
I have
Mine's
nothing to
still almost
report that
yours.
you haven't already reported, Mary.
I know. I always take your
No,
stuff.
it's all right. I'll find it. I'll squeak my comments in one place or another.
Exactly. Well, you'll have a lot to report. Well, if I don't steal all of it, but you'll have a lot to report probably not the next one, but the first
There
of
you go.
December. And just a reminder for everybody, we did cancel the December 21st meeting. We've taken it offline, off of the website and all of that. Again, that's just the December 21st. And she did add that calendar, I believe, into this packet. I think she did. But either way, we have that first reading on that tonight. So with only one meeting in December of next year. So streets, Tony, you're good. And then let's go. Joe is not here. Does anybody from that committee want to say anything? Do you guys have anything? Do we have a meeting scheduled? Can we maybe try to get one? No, okay.
No,
Let's-
I'm afraid the chair really needs to schedule a meeting. And
That is totally,
unless he,
Well, there was-
defers, it hasn't.
Yeah, there was no meeting last month, if my recollection serves, right? We didn't meet. Yeah.
okay. So maybe we can get moving on that because I know that there's a couple things people would like to discuss and talk about, but again, that's safety committee, Brian.
Safety committee meeting had a robust discussion in the month of October regarding basketball court rules. We also discussed the possibility of adding some no parkings from this point to corner signs. We had some takeaways from that and we'll be meeting this month to finish up both of those conversations. And while we're here, we should get about to scheduling that. I am looking at, just one moment here. What is this? This Thursday or next Tuesday would be my preferences. And I know we usually have been doing those at like 5, if that works for everyone. So that would be
I think we had
Chief Delp.
I'm good for
again?
next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Was it, well, I guess.
Okay, so
5.
Oh, did community just schedule next Tuesday?
Well, it's 6.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
claimed 6.
Yeah, so
So-
5. We've been doing 5 to accommodate Chief Delp's workday, right?
I'll have a busy Tuesday.
So be it. Yep. So next Tuesday at 5, Tuesday the 17th.
perfect. I will get those Zooms out. Again, I'm not going to do them right away. I will do them later this week, but I will do safety at 5 p.m. Community at 6 p.m. And then just for, I'm sure a lot of people will probably be tuned into both. If we're running a few minutes late, then we'll get on to the next one as soon as we possibly can. So perfect. I will get those to Becky first thing in the morning. Anything else on safety or does anybody have any questions? All right, legislation, Mark.
All right, we have a legislative meeting scheduled for next Monday at 6. We're probably gonna be talking about the noise ordinance. Eric, I think, was gonna get us a couple more examples of other communities so we can compare and decide what we like to keep or not. I believe tonight we are finally going to release the sidewalk legislation because I think that is finally, no, we're not going to release it.
No. We're gonna get some confirmations. You'll see it by the next meeting.
Okay.
All good things are worth waiting for, Mark.
I thought we saw, man, I don't have a sidewalk. Doesn't concern me here.
Exactly.
Same.
The other, I guess, the legislation news that's already been said, we are not going to be moving on the MI taking over the reserve stuff because they have not finished with their punch out list yet.
Perfect. All right. Start.
Reading, Mark.
Okay,
Oh, that's right.
moving on to
Yeah.
legislation.
Hey,
Drink of water, getting ready for all the talking you're about to do.
yeah,
Well,
let me
I made
pull-
such a point of saying you have a legislative committee and then you do legislation and Tiffany, you're supposed to cue them, then it's okay to go ahead and do legislation.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? It is my fault. Because then I thought about it. I should have said, does anybody have any questions for Mark? Because
There
I
you
don't know
go.
what the rest
See,
of them.
that
So
was
Mark,
good.
I apologize. Does anybody have any
There you
questions for
go.
Mark? No
All
questions,
right.
then read.
No questions. Okay, top one, Resolution 2020-35, a resolution authorizing and approving the execution of a contract with Patterson Pools for the installation of a baby pool, declaring it an emergency. Bottom line on this one, the cost of the project shall not exceed $160,000 without further approval of council. That I believe price includes the safety soft flooring for the baby pool, does not include umbrellas and fancy pavilions. And that is the total price of the contract, not counting how much of that is going to be covered by the grant.
Correct.
This is a third
That one was tabled.
reading. so we don't have to waive anything. So I will move to pass.
And we
Oh,
have-
I'm
we have to
sorry.
That was
untable.
tabled.
Yep, I'm
Yeah, it
going to
was
move that
tabled.
we untable it then.
Perfect.
Second.
Do we need to do roll call or on to untable it, or
I think
All
just
those
a
in favor?
voice.
what's that?
You can just do it by voice vote. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. All those in favor?
Aye.
Untable.
All right, it's back on the menu then. I move that we pass it as an emergency. The reason
Second.
being so we can get to them without waiting, and they can start pulling permits and seeing what they can do here before the end of the season.
Correct.
Second.
All right, motion and seconds. Any discussion on that?
All right.
Hearing none,
Councilman-
let's call that roll.
Councilman McNamara,
Aye.
Councilman Bruger,
Aye.
Councilman Kroll is not here, and Councilman Benedetti,
Aye.
Council President Shrimp,
Aye.
and Councilman Wolf.
Aye.
Awesome.
All right, that seems to have passed. So moving on, Resolution 2020-36. A resolution authorizing the mayor and fiscal officer to enter into the various reoccurring contracts necessary for the continuous operation of the village. This would also be a third reading and as such a passage. For those of you watching at home, there are several contracts that are just reoccurring and come up every year. Things like our legal services, vending for the pool, payroll, mosquito spraying. I'm just reading off the list that we typically pass in a large bulk form so as not to have to go through each and every one of them one by one. And just a little backstory for anyone watching. This is generally for things that are already appropriated as far as monies go. If one of these vendors would come back with a giant increased spending, we would still have to come back and revisit that to authorize more money for it. So this does not lock us into contracts that we have not agreed to spend money for. And I move that we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion on it?
All right, let's go. Councilman Wolf,
Aye.
Council President Shrimp,
Aye.
Councilman Benedetti,
Aye.
Councilman McNamara.
Aye.
Councilman Bruger.
Aye.
All right, and Councilman Curl is not here. All right, and that passes, and we go to 2020-38.
Okay, this is our first reading of 2020-38, a resolution adopting the rules of council for the council of the Village of Minerva Park for 2021. This, I believe, is adding a clarification into our planning and zoning that apparently at one point was,
No,
No.
this isn't that one?
this is just
only
rules of
changes
council,
we
so
have.
No,
this
this
is
is just our rules of council then.
first reading and yes, so normal rules, sorry about that.
There we go. We have to have rules and there we go.
Shucks.
All right, ordinance 14-2020, an ordinance to accept MI development reserve areas and declaring an emergency. That is still tabled because we're waiting for the punch out.
No, we're
Actually,
tabling
no,
it.
you have to table,
Move
yes.
to table, move to
Oh,
table.
move to table, sorry. I thought we had done that.
Second.
And we can just do all those in favor to table it.
All in favor, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Aye.
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 Got it.
Aye.
Okay, and that is ordinance 14. Sorry.
All right, ordinance 17-2021, an ordinance to make appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Minerva Park for the year ending December 31st, 2021. This is our first reading of that. And Mayor, if you want to say anything about it, go ahead.
That is strictly pretty much the budget. That's everything that we went over in the finance meeting, as well as the first 30 minutes of the work session. So if anybody wants to go back and actually hear more in detail, some of the large things, just to point out, I'm not going to make this crazy for you guys, but some of the large things that are in there that makes this look a little more than usual is the street repair over on Maplewood is already appropriated, as well as the East Shore Court project has already been appropriated, which are very large expenditures. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody was telling me no. So that is one of the things that you will notice that the amount is a little bit higher, but that's the reason that some of those things are a little higher. As you guys are also aware, keeping maintenance in-house, there's also some additional cost to doing that. But other than that, there's really not any huge surprises. There's some reallocating of money, but there's really not much of anything that's not from last year. I don't think there's really much other than one of the things that I had asked for is trying to be able to help MPCA with the carriage rides for next year. That was probably one of the biggest things that I had asked for to be put in there. I didn't ask for any $20,000 anythings in there. Just that was probably one of the only things that I emailed her and asked for. And it wasn't just strictly that, it was for, and Diane and I had talked about this last year, for people to be able to have request money for like block parties and things like that, for us to be able to assist minorly in some of those things. So other than that, again, it's pretty much straight across the board with a little bit of increases for, 2021 versus 2020. But other than that, pretty straightforward.
Seems like we're trying to be as upfront as humanly possible with these projects instead of having to appropriate down the road. So I think it's I like it.
Yeah.
Transparency for our people.
Right. And the other thing that I think that, is great to point out is we have appropriated the money for from the Parkland Fund to being able to get some of these projects done for the green space areas. What we're going to do, we don't know, but this is at least one step closer to being able to get those things done. So that's probably the biggest surprises that are in there. Everything else is pretty straightforward. And also the full amount for the EMS contract is in there. So again, pretty basic. But if anybody has any questions over the next few days, obviously we plan on doing all 3 readings. So if anybody has any questions, problems, concerns with anything in there, we will also have another work session in December to being able to go into that. If there's something that you guys think is missing, again, feel free. I mean, it's something that I'm in agreement. If there's something that we can fix on it now, let's do it.
Is this something that's easily found on the website?
No.
Say that again.
The new one is not wouldn't be posted yet because they wouldn't post it because it's not been approved. So
it's under the agenda though. People can go find it because when she posts the actual agenda, it actually does post all of the legislation that we read tonight.
Okay.
So they can find it under there, absolutely. But it's not going to be posted as something passed because it's not passed yet. So, but yes, it is going to be under the agenda. Like it'll have the agenda and then
but it's hard, it's only people that know to look on the agenda. That's just one of those things that I think ought to have. I haven't looked at the financial part of the website, but maybe I ought to look at that before I start bringing this up. But
definitely see if there's somewhere.
It's hard to find unless you know where to find it or to look for it.
I can definitely ask Becky if there's a place that we could put something like that. I know we used to have like the 5-year forecasts on there. I'm sure that's probably somewhere. Maybe we could add like a little tab that shows this on there. Again, you kind of have to know a little bit about what you're looking for to go find it, but I have absolutely no problem seeing if we can do like a little special place for this one, just so it's a little easier for people to find. But I can ask her tomorrow if she could add it somewhere, just so people can see it.
That's all I got.
That's appreciated.
As far as I know, that is our legislative agenda for tonight.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about legislation that we just read?
I scrolled down all the way to the bottom.
All right. So let's go to new business. Does anybody have anything for new business?
Yeah, on the, I just wanted to mention again on the Aqueduct contract, I forgot to mention this on Saturday. In terms of the ponds again, it would be nice to know if we could take instead of spending the money on the treatments, if we could spend the money on getting some plantings in there that would prevent the treatments being needed in the first place.
There is time to work that out.
And just so you know, I just got those quotes for them just to give us an idea because we were working on the budget. We can definitely start out with just the North and South Lake until we figure out and until we need to add those lakes. And then that's something that, again, it's on there. We can double check and see exactly what we appropriated, but I think we kind of went between the two. I don't think we went with the highest amount, and I don't think we went with the exact amount that we paid last year, which was like almost 7,000. But at this point, you know, those are things most of the time you guys are just going to see an email from me that says, what does everybody want to do? And I typically go with majority as long as it's appropriated. But at this point for January, I'm not in disagreement. So I think we need to start out with just the North and South Lake until we see what we're going to do with those.
Okay, as long as we know that it needs to be a continuing conversation so we don't get into spring prime planting time, and then we haven't talked about it and we disagree and we can't.
I think maybe in our community committee meeting, we'll have some discussion about, because that's we've talked at length about the North and South Lake, but we really haven't come up with a plan for the ponds yet, or whatever you guys want to call them.
I mean, yeah, my vision is as natural and self-sustaining as possible. I suspect Diane shares that view, but of course, well, you know, I bet our friends at Soil and Water Conservation are gonna have some planting lists if that's the way we decide to go.
Well, there's that and fountains. I know people don't like to hear that, but I think that's,
a well-placed
part of
fountain,
a program.
a well-placed fountain does not negate the beauty of a natural environment, at least in my opinion.
Okay, well, that's good to know that you're basically planning for the lake to the two lakes, North and South Lake, and ponds are still up for discussion. That's the bottom line.
Yeah,
so that's
I think it's premature to spend that kind of money on there because I know we're talking about lily ponds at the doing the one as a lily pond, and again, I think it's a lot of money to spend on the other ones if it's going to be a work in progress this year. I would hate to spend an extra $2,000 or $3,000 when we don't need to. So I think we'll take those as a wait and see type thing. That's my goal.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And again, if you guys have questions about any of the contracts or anything like that, feel free. I mean, if it's something that's the exact same, then I'm more than likely. But again, AquaDoc honestly, I will tell you this, we'll be discussing the mosquito one later. Just because I don't need to bring it to you for approval doesn't mean that I won't bring it to you for approval, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if everybody wants to continue. I mean, I think I said this the other night. I didn't love spending $6,000 or $5,000 or $7,000 and getting one spray because people were still complaining nonstop because there was too many mosquitoes, and other people were thrilled that we didn't do it. But that was the most money we've ever spent. And I'm not sure that it was money well spent.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's like, I think the value is in having the sprays being done not by amateurs, by even someone who's certified but doesn't do it for. I think the sprays that I think the value is in the fact that they are very careful about what they spray, when they spray, and that their philosophy being that they only spray when there's a West Nile mosquito discovered. And if you want additional sprays, then, but that's a different negotiation. But the fact that they put out the traps and they look for it, which is a public health issue. And it is a one of those services that's, you don't have a bazillion people doing this. So, there's part of it is the cost, but they have special equipment. They have to get recertified every year. The government is always pushing and pulling on different chemicals in use. I think it adds to the credibility of the service we're getting. And so that's hard to put a value on, but I think my opinion is that we should continue the service. And if people want mosquito spraying just because they don't like mosquitoes, that's different from the public health issue,
Correct.
which is monitoring for viruses that are being, or other vectors that are being carried by mosquitoes. So it's really two different issues.
It is. You're correct. It is two completely different things. And you have, I'm not going to say 50-50 because clearly we didn't do a survey, but I will tell you it's, yeah, some people just don't like mosquitoes. And I'm one of those. I understand that I'm going to get yelled at for certain, I would like to go out and enjoy my backyard and not get eaten alive. So I'm one of those that I prefer, if you're going to do it, do it. But I am also one that I do believe if you have traps and there's West Nile, I'm obviously, I just said that I don't like mosquitoes. So clearly I don't want one that's going to kill somebody or make somebody really sick. So, but that's one that once we get ready to do the contract, I do anticipate that it's going to be a very similar price. But we'll revisit it. I mean, it's something that I may just shoot out an email. I'm getting ready to sign it. Is there anybody that has any questions, problems, concerns? And if I don't hear anything, then I will. So that's typically, I think you guys have seen that with a lot of things that I've done. So without going crazy on any of those, does anybody else have any new business? And then we'll go straight to old business. So either one, does anybody have any new or old business?
I have old business. I have old business. I just forgot to say that in the finance, part of the facility project is kind of under the umbrella of finance, and I forgot to mention Garmin Miller was the one awarded the contract, the architect who won the contract, and the contract, as I understand it from the administration, has been signed. I haven't seen it yet. I know I'm going to get a copy. We're all going to get a copy, supposedly. But it is for just the first part where they're coming in and talking to people and looking at the building and doing the inspections and coming back with a proposal on how they're going to proceed. And so this is part 1 of 3 or 4. So this is... there was just an initial meeting, and I understand that from the mayor that there'll be another meeting next week.
Yeah, I'm anticipating in the next short amount of time, they will come out. They're going to come out and explore the building because there's been some changes since we talked last. So they're not going to, at this point in time, we have not had actual meeting time set up with myself, Chief, Leah, our wish list, want list, all of that kind of stuff, what we envision in the building, all of those types of things. That has not been set up. I am anticipating them coming out even before that, just so they can, again, explore the, old EMS. So that was never really on the table. We now have the extra square footage that's not there. So, the extra square footage that's not being used by, a lot's changed since they were here and since we talked to them the last time. They knew that that was a possibility, but I don't know that anybody really thought it was going to happen before we started with them. So they are coming out, they're going to explore the building, and then they're going to meet with all of us individually and go through some of the things that, the chief envisions of, the normal process. So that has not been set up yet.
And I'd love to, the other thing that we were going to get a copy of was their presentation schedule.
Yes.
I want schedules, promised dates or whatever that are.
They're not actually, and just so I think there are some dates on it. I have not scanned it in. So Eric, if you didn't get a chance to scan it in, when I get in there in the morning, it's actually going to be probably tomorrow afternoon, but I can get that scanned in and get it sent if you don't have an actual email.
I have a copy. Yes, I have a copy from them. It's going to get sent around.
Oh, perfect. So yeah,
Yes.
if you want to do that, and then, but yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to email them.
Okay, I'm done now, I promise.
You're totally fine.
Totally fine.
Totally fine. Anybody else? All right, Brian, it's all you.
Move to adjourn?
Tony,
I'm sorry.
your thunder.
No. I shouldn't be the only one who gets to make that motion, but I will gladly second Tony.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys have a good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
All right. Talk to everybody later.
Bye.